So I'm just sitting here in the woods, and like as I was saying, I got finished listening to a live cast, which was an interesting live cast, and it was somebody who is in the truth-seeking, um, not business, but but not hobby either. The who a person who questions the official stories of things, the kind of person who gets called a conspiracy theorist. Um, and I just thought he was like saying certain things like, these are certain things to keep in mind, pieces of advice. Um, and I previously shared a couple of what that video prompted me to say. If you're one of us, if you're in the truth seeking community like me and others, then number one, don't be I think what I came up with previously was, number one, don't be condescending. People are at different places. You know, don't demand that everybody see things the way that you see them. Um, you know, if they don't see them the way that you see them, that doesn't make them. If you can't convince them or whatever, or if they're not with you, it doesn't make them bad people. Now, there are some. So that's what my first thing to say about the normies. Most normies, I think, are not are good-hearted people. They just um, a lot of them are really smart too. It's just not. It doesn't occur to them to ask these kinds of questions and look into these kinds of things for whatever reason, or for uh, whatever multiple uh, you know um, sets of reasons, um, configurations of reasons. So don't be condescending. The second thing I came to was, uh, don't be black pilled. And I laugh because that's a bugaboo of mine, and it's something that people even tease me about, right? Come on and just say, it's over, Andy. It's over. Which is the black pill mantra, right? It's over. I get it. I can take the ribbing. Um, but I've inveighed very heavily against black pilled thinking, partly because I am really quite the pessimist myself, temperamentally. I'm not the kind of person who looks on the bright side at all. Not in the least. I have to train myself to see the good in things, and I have to train myself to look for the good. Um, so I think I want to say a little bit more though about, back to the don't be condescending thing, because that's really the biggest overarching uh, uh, commandment, if you will. And it was the fact that the black pill types were being condescending that irritated me. They were saying to me, because you have this take, you're shallow, or they, not they, uh, one person in particular really was saying that. But I think I think that person, you know, wasn't isn't alone in feeling that way. Um, but I would also say, uh, just um, just in general, that you know not everybody is going to come along to your perspective, and you shouldn't treat it. If they do come along, if you do find someone who's now saying, "Oh, you know what? Those things you were telling me about earlier, you planted some seeds in me, and now I really am thinking uh, that you might be right about this, that, or the other thing." Don't be like, "Oh well, finally. Oh, okay. I'm so proud of your growth. I'm so proud of you for having come to see the light." Don't have that kind of attitude. Like, you know, they're 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 better people now because they're more like you. you know, um, you might have helped them. If you help them, that's great. If you reach them in a way that was compelling for them, then that is great. That's something you should be proud of. I'm not saying you shouldn't feel good about it, but don't feel like, oh well, now they're becoming fully, now they're more completely human. Now they're not NPCs anymore. Now they're not normies anymore. Uh, you know, and because they're more like me, right? I think the tendency to say the if you're not if you're not with us, you're an NPC. That's just I'm you know I'm really down on that. Now, at the same time, there are some people who are just incredibly frustratingly credulous. Um, and I don't even mind if they don't question things. But not everybody is going to question. Not everybody's the questioning type. Um, some people just go along to get along, and it's their temperament, or it's their level of intelligence, or it's their whatever. But there are, I think what is more irksome, and what does irk me is when they are hostile towards one who questions. Um, and I would put that category of person. Um, I would almost say there needs to be a different uh, categorization, because you've got the normie. The normie just is into Georgia football. I mean, I'm just thinking locally here. How about them dogs? How the Braves going to do this year? Which I like sports too. Um, so I'm not putting that down, but just sort of, or uh, doesn't delve into deep questions like this. But I'm not saying that as a put down. I'm just saying it's like they're, I don't know. It's it's almost, it's good. I like the fact that they can be, that in the midst of this world that I find so upsetting, they can just sort of move through it and cope and tolerate, and when I say cope, of course I don't mean that in the black pill sense either. I hate the way the black pillars use the word cope. That's another word I'm taking back. I'm taking back cope. Cope and problematic. Both of those words have been molested uh, by bad actors, and I'm taking them both back. You know, coping is a good thing. Coping isn't something um, you should get made fun of for. Like, oh, that's just cope, or you're a coper. Um, you like, yeah, life throws you a lot of curveballs. You get knocked on your ass a time or two by a fastball coming at your face. If I can stick to the the pitching metaphor now that baseball season has started. Um, but you can, but I'm, people who can just take their lumps and then just get up and get back in the batter's box again, and think to themselves, okay, well, I'm going to take a swing and see what happens, and if I ground out, then at least I tried, and I'll get another at bat, whatever. People like that impress me. I envy them even. I envy them, and I don't mean that condescendingly either. I don't mean I wish I could be such a simple-minded person like you. I don't mean, but I just have to be deep. I just have to be deep and thoughtful. But if I could just be a simpleton like you, I would, things would be so much easier. Like, no, they're this is these people are created in the image and likeness of God, just as I was. So anyway, there's the types of people who you who mean well, but who aren't into this kind of stuff, and then there are people who are just hostile towards it, and who seem to be operating in bad faith. Um, you know, and they're the ones who I would say don't engage with. They're the ones I would say when you find yourself uh, uh, up against someone who is uh, not um, not willing to argue fairly, not willing to argue. Does it have to be an argument? Not willing to uh, discuss things in a way that is fair, but but uh, is always, you know, moving the goalposts. So many sports metaphors, but they work. They help to convey what is being said. Who are moving the goalposts? Who say, "I'm going to show why you're wrong about X," and then you demonstrate something. You demonstrate why you're right about X, and then they say, "Oh yeah, well, what about Y?" And suddenly the goalposts are 100 yards from where they had been before. I think sometimes people do that without thinking about it, but it's still bad faith. And I think people want to be right. People don't want to be. People have pride. I know what it's like to have pride. If I get that, but there's something about if you're engaged with someone who's just not going to be fair, then debate is or discussion is, you know, you just move along. And if I ever encounter somebody like that here, I block them. If I encounter somebody who I think is operating in bad faith, I block them, and I don't apologize for that. Um, you know, I so tolerance has its limits. Does that mean that these people are just a lost cause forever? No. And they may not even be bad people, but if they're going to be this way, don't engage with them, and certainly don't let them abuse you or mock or belittle you. I mean, say this, we're done here. All right, you're uh, you're being an ass. I'm not going to be talked to this way, or whatever. Just be firm and and refuse to be bullied, you know? So there you go. Maybe that's a good, maybe those are, maybe we'll just stick with those injunctions that I came up with, those commandments. First and foremost, don't be condescending. Secondly, don't be black-pilled. Thirdly, don't take shit from anyone. You know, don't tolerate people who are arguing in bad faith, or who engage in ad hominem or similar tactics or methods, ways of communicating that are not conducive to discussion. So, anything to add? Anything to add? And anyone? Let me know. Thanks for watching. Thanks for sitting through this. Hope it wasn't too tedious.